In today's video, I'm going to be making a remastered version of the most iconic map in the entire Bloons franchise. And that, of course, is going to be the original Bloons TD1 map. Now, the Bloons TD1 map is relatively easy. Well, it wasn't easy back in the day, because back in the day, the Bloons TD map was like insanely hard because like you didn't have a lot of towers to choose from. I think like the best strategy for that map was like just using dart monkeys. But because we're in 2023, why not go ahead and make a better version of that map? Now, the first problem that we're going to run into is the scale of the original Bloons TD1 map, because the Flash player had a little bit of a different aspect when it came to gaming. So that's the first thing that we're going to have to remaster. So let's go ahead and get the path set up, and then we'll go ahead and like design the way that we want our map to look from there. All right, so this is going to be the rough layout for the original Bloons TD1 map. Now, as you guys can see, like the majority of the path is over here on the right-hand side. So let's go ahead and move the path a little bit more over towards the start. That way it's a little bit more even and it'll look a little bit better. And again, this is just to make it so the pathway looks a little bit better. So let's go ahead and make sure all of these are squared off, and I'm going to go ahead and get the entire map squared off. And I'll bring you guys back as soon as we're ready to like start actually remastering the map. And would you have a look at that? I think that looks crazy good. All right, so I went ahead and I changed the scales a little bit, and I think it turned out pretty good. The last thing I want to do, let's go ahead and change this up a little bit more, and then like extend this pathway a little bit more over towards the left. That way the map looks a little bit more full, and it doesn't seem like the pathway is heavy on the right hand side. I mean, we still have this like giant squared off spot up here, but I do have a couple of plans to make this look a little bit better. Now, the first thing I'm thinking about, what if we just add like a couple of like trees up here in the top right? Then we could add like a couple of leaves over here, and then we could add like a water feature over here, because I want to like bring this map to life. Because I mean, it's been how long since the Bloons TD1 dropped? I mean, we could do a little bit better than the OG Bloons map, right? All right, so the first thing we'll do, we'll use these like green leaves. And we'll use these green leaves to add a little bit of something up in this corner, because right now the corner looks a little bit bland, and I'm not really a big fan of like having like this bland feeling up in the top right. So let's go ahead and mess around with these giant tree leaves a little bit and see if we can like really make this top left a little bit less barren. And I think that looks good. All right, now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and add a couple more leaves up here in the top right, and then the bottom left, as well as the bottom right. I said bottom right, but I meant you guys know what I mean. All right, so now that we have this corner set, let's go ahead and work on adding a little bit of something to the top right. And then we need to add a couple of leaves to the bottom left now. And we'll give this map kind of a similar vibe to a Monkey Meadow, just a little bit of an improved version. And now our map is already starting to come to life. I really like the way that this is looking already. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to find out like what other props we want to use to like bring a little bit more life to this map. Like, do we want to give it like a town center type of vibe? Or do we want to go with something a little bit different, like a mixture between like Monkey Meadow and town center? Of course, I said I wanted to add a water feature, which is something that we'll definitely do. Let's actually go ahead and add the water feature right now. That way we can go ahead and get it out of the way. Actually, you know what? I have like a perfect plan. What I'm going to do, let's go ahead and add another pylon over here. And then let's make it seem like this water feature is like extending out into like a lake. I think that would look so cool. All right, there we go. I think that looks pretty all right. And then the next thing I want to do, let's go ahead and add ourselves like a dock over here. And then we'll add like a boat. That way there's like a boat that's going out into the lake. And this is like a little like boat ramp. I think that would be really, really cool. So what we need to do, we need to go ahead and add ourselves a like dock. And then after we grab the dock, that's where we can go ahead and add the boat. All right, cool. So we added ourselves like a little dock here, and then we have our little boat. The only question is, does that look good with this pathway? I want to keep like the original vibe of the original BTD1's map. So I want to keep this pathway. I just don't know if this is gonna look good or not. Maybe if we add like another one over here, not really feeling it, but I do want to keep this. So we'll go ahead and keep this, and we'll add like a little bit of extra detail to hopefully like make it blend in with the, stone pathway a little bit more. Now, because I want to like make this my own version, let's go ahead and add ourselves like a little shack here, and then like this will be like a little fishing shack. So we have like the fishing shack, we have the boat down here. I think this is gonna come, or I think this is starting to come together quite nicely. The next thing we want to do, let's go ahead and add ourselves like a little bit of a garden over here. I think that would look pretty cool too. So let's go ahead and change or add ourselves a little area over here. And this will be like a little garden spot. I don't know why all of a sudden I went from fishing to gardening, but I just thought it would be, or I thought it would look pretty good. Never mind, we're not going to do the garden because I realized that the garden would just look a little bit too out of place on this map. So instead of doing the gardening, let's go ahead, we'll grab ourselves a barrel and then we'll place like a couple of barrels here. And we'll try to make it seem like there's a fishing pole inside one of the barrels. I just have to find a prop that would look good with it. Also, I think if we add like a lamppost here, this would look pretty good too. So add ourselves like a lamppost right there. That way you have a little bit of light when you're going from the house over to the boat. I think that looks pretty nice. Next thing, like I was saying, I want to grab myself a barrel. And with this barrel, can we kind of make it seem like there's fishing poles inside or no? I don't think we can get away with like fishing poles inside because we see the top too much. And I don't want to like rotate it backwards because if I rotate it backwards, then it's just going to look like out of place. All right, then the next thing we want to do, what can we use as fishing poles? I think I'm going to use the same thing that I used for the sword, and I'm going to use this. So let's go ahead and rotate this. Wait, I think I need to rotate it like this, and then I need to rotate it a little bit like this, and then I need to go ahead and bring it towards us. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this down here, and I'll make it seem like we have like a fishing pole right next to the door. I know it's not like an amazing fishing pole, but I thought it would look kind of similar to a fishing pole. All right, now the next thing we're gonna do, let's go ahead and add ourselves like a couple of boxes over here, and then like one box over here, just to add a little bit more life around this building. There we go. I think that looks pretty cool. And then because these boxes have been probably sitting here for a while, let's add ourselves like a little spider web over here like this, and it'll add just a little bit of minor details to the map, which is exactly what we're looking for. Next thing, what do we want to do over here? Like, do we want to turn this into like a miniature forest? I think a miniature forest would look pretty cool. Maybe we can add like a couple of rocks over here as well and make it seem like not like barren land, but like rocky land. What else can we do? I don't want to add my like homemade trees because whenever I add like my homemade trees, they always end up like having weird hitboxes, which is a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, like there's nothing that we can really do with it, so we just have to put up with it. So instead of like adding homemade trees, let's just add the spruce trees. There we go. Like we didn't go too crazy with the trees, but by adding these trees, it just like adds a lot of detail to our map, which is exactly what we're going for. I also kind of want to add another tree here just because I thought it would look cool. And then let's go ahead and get into adding a couple of shrubs. So we'll add like some shrubs up here, over here. We'll add a couple of shrubs next to these trees, and then we'll leave like this area open to one place towers, and then add a couple of shrubs as well. Or not shrubs, but flowers. Now the only question is, do we want to add I think we want to add the darker one because we're going to be adding like a bunch of shades next to these trees. And I think the darker shrubs would look a little bit better. Let's go ahead and position a couple of these shrubs. You use the trick that we've done in the past of like placing a bunch of shrubs all around. And then we'll go ahead and like mix in some smaller ones as well to go ahead and add a little bit of detail. Now this is where we're gonna like change around the shrub over to the bright one because I want the sun to be over here like on the bottom right hand side. So the sun is going to be going from the bottom right to the top left. So when we position our shade, we need to go ahead and remember that. That way we can go ahead and add like proper shade to make it seem like the sun is over here in the bottom right, which I think it should look pretty cool if we do it correctly. All right, and I think all of those shrubs look pretty good. Now let's start working with a little bit of the stamp features. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and add these shades first. So for the shades, we'll go ahead and like position these shades over here first because the entire place is pretty much going to be shaded off. So we really don't have to worry too much about like positioning the shades correctly because I already know what the shades are going to look like underneath all of these trees. I think I'm having a little bit of second thoughts with like the shade over here because I think that looks a little bit weird. We'll just keep the shade like kind of like reined in a little bit because if we add a little bit too much, then it's starting to look a little bit out of place. So I really like the way that this looks, opposed to like trying to make like a perfect triangle with the shade pattern. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of shade around the boat as well. That way the boat has a little bit of a detail to it as well. And then we'll add ourselves a little bit of shade underneath the dock as well. And I think that looks pretty good. Then let's go ahead and add a little bit more shade over here underneath those shrubby bushes. Then we'll add a little bit more shade over here as well. And again, this is just to add a little bit of extra detail to our map. I think that looks really, really, really good. Let me just get like a double take on it really quick. This one looks a little bit out of place. Let me go ahead and add a different shade. We'll add it like right here, and I think that looks a little bit better. There we go. And then let's go ahead and come over here to our lake, because our lake is looking a little bit barren. But if we add some sunspots, it'll really bring our lake to life, and it'll add a little bit more detail, which is exactly what we're going for. There we go. Then the next thing I want to do, can I like position a rock here right at the entrance? I can, but it doesn't look as good as I thought it would look. I would have to make the building a little bit smaller in order for that to look good. All right, now that we've done all that, the next thing I want to do, let's go ahead and add ourselves a couple of rocks. We'll add like a rock feature up here. We'll add like another one right here. And then I want to face a different direction. Then we'll add like a little bit of rocks right here. And that's just to add a little bit of extra detail. Now, the next thing we want to do, let's go ahead and we'll grab ourselves some leaves. And then can we put leaves like right here? Yeah, we can. That looks really cool. I really like the way that looks. Now, the next thing we want to do, let's go ahead and add some flowers. We'll add some flowers over here, a couple right here, some more over here. And then I'm just going to be like randomly positioning these flowers across the map. Then after I get done positioning these flowers, I want to add a little bit more greenery. So I'll add a couple of flowers down here. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and use a different flower to add a little bit of extra detail here. And then we'll only use like one of these next to the other flowers. And I think this will really make our flowers come to life. Then let's go ahead and add a couple of yellow flowers to give it a little bit more color. Yeah, that looks really, really good. Now the next thing we want to do, can we add like a couple of these like, not really feeling it. Never mind about those. Next thing, let's add a couple of these like leafy green patches. And these little green patches, I'm not going to add a lot of them. I'm just going to add a couple of them to give our map a little bit more detail and kind of add a little bit of contrast to our map as well. Oh man, if I would have added these underneath it, that would have added a lot of detail, but we really don't need it right now. I think we're looking pretty good with what we have going. I almost want to add like one more like green patch here, but I think that would be a little bit too much. Instead, let's add these flowers, and that'll like mix up the color a bit more, and we won't be like oversaturated with flowers. Yeah, that looks really good. Next thing, can I take this? Can I throw it into this boat like right here? And can I turn it into like a mast? I can. That looks kind of cool. I kind of like the way that this looks, but I need to like find the perfect position for it. There we go. Let's go ahead and like use that on the boat. I mean, it's just dumb, but I think if like somebody sees it, they'll be like, oh, that's kind of unique and cool. Next thing, can we add like a box on top of the boat as well? I mean, this is like a platform. Okay, so apparently you can't. Never mind. Next thing, let's add like a couple of these bright green like grass effects to our map to add a little bit of detail next to the track. We'll add one here. Let me see. So this is going to be really meticulous because we need to like find, let me go ahead and remove these rocks, and then we'll replace it with this because I really like the way that looks. There we go. So we'll add like a little bit of extra effect with this like grass effect. But we're going to run into the same problem that we run into all of the time whenever we're trying to do this, and we're not going to be able to get like the perfect direction with the grass that we would like. Actually, that was pretty good right there. Let's go ahead and remove these rocks because I think that grass feature looks a little bit better. And then we'll move the rocks over here. And guys, like, I don't want to go like too crazy with it because I think it looks really good right now. Do we want to keep it at path 1 or do we want to keep it like a bigger path? Let's keep it with this because I think it looks really good. Like the path is like really bulky. Actually, you know what? I think it looks a little bit better with not the bulky pathway. Oh man. Actually, let's just keep the thick pathway. I thought about it for a little while, and I think the thick pathway looks a little bit better. Now, the next thing I want to do, let's go ahead and add a little bit of extra detail with a couple of lily pads, because I almost forgot to add more detail to the lake, because the lake right now is, like, we have this sunspots, which adds a lot of detail, but I think we can add a little bit more with a couple of lily pads. Now that we have the lily pads, let's go ahead and add ourselves a couple of cattails as well, because you can't have lily pads without cattails. Like, it just doesn't happen. And then we'll add like a couple more, and then let's go ahead and tilt them a little bit over to the right or left, and then over to the right. Just add a little bit of extra detail. because as you guys know, I really like adding these small details to my maps that really make my maps come to life. There we go. This one up here looks a little bit wonky. Instead, let's move this one over here, and then we'll move this one a little bit closer to our other lily pads. And then we'll like tilt it a little bit more to the left. There we go. That looks way better. And guys, I think that's gonna do it for our map. Like, as far as like the remastered version, I really like the way that this turned out. I just want to add a little bit more shrubs over here, because it really doesn't like make sense to have like a barren spot over there when we already have so many shrubs. Let's also add like a couple more shrubs up here as well, just because I feel like that black or these black spots up here like kind of like seem out of place. But if we add these shrubs, it'll like kind of fill in that blank space, and it'll look a little bit better. There we go. I really like the way that that turned out. One thing I do want to change though, I want to remove that, and actually I forgot about the flowers there. So now I need to replace the flowers really quick. And can we add like more flowers like this? Yeah, we can. All right. I just thought it looked a little bit off with the shade underneath of these shrubs, and it looks a little bit better now. So guys, I think that's gonna do it for my remastered version of the original Bloons TD 1 map. So now the last thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and choose a couple of background effects. So for the background effects, let's just choose a couple of like leaves flying through the air from like these big trees. And then for the music, you know what? Let's choose a BMC Street Party, because BMC Street Party is a pretty solid song. Now, of course, the last thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and name and play our map. So for the name, let's just call it Bloons TD 1 Remastered. And I think that looks pretty good. I really like the way that this map turned out. Now let's go ahead and play it, and then we'll go ahead and publish it. All right, so let's go ahead and keep with the stereotypical Bloons TD 1 map, and let's go ahead and buy ourselves a Dart Monkey, because on the original Bloons TD 1 map, as I said at the beginning of the video, the strategy that you would always go for Bloons TD 1 is just spamming down a bunch of Dart Monkeys. But back when the original map dropped, of course, they didn't have all the tiers and stuff. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the remastered version of Bloons TD 1. Like, do you guys think I went a little bit overboard with like adding the building, and I should have just stuck with the original concept of just like a super blank screen with just a path? But like I said, I want to make a remastered version, and obviously a remastered version is going to have a little bit more detail than the original. Also guys, while we have a little bit of time, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the series. You guys are absolutely crushing it. If you guys have any recommendations or ideas that you guys would like to see me try, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Like, if you guys want to see me remake a different Bloons map from a different Bloons game, I can definitely make it happen. But this map, like, for real brings me back to my school days when I would be like sitting in the back of computer class, and I would load up like a website that had the original Bloons game, and I would play the original Bloons game in the back of class, like during class. That being said, pay attention to school, guys, because it's really important. So the Bloons strategy is working really good on the original Bloons TD 1 map. Obviously, our Dart Monkeys in 2023 are a lot stronger than the OG Dart Monkeys back in the day, because back in the day, like, the OG Dart Monkeys didn't have any upgrades, and of course we didn't have any of like the crazy balloons like purple balloons, lead balloons, or camel balloons, or even Moab balloons. All right, dudes, and we have officially beaten our remastered version of Bloons TD 1. Now, if you guys would like to play this map for yourself, here is the code. And if you guys end up beating this on Chimps, so please feel free to let me know of the strategy that you used to beat Chimps with, because I think that would be a really fun idea. But anyways, dudes, again, let me know what you guys think of my remastered version of Bloons TD 1, and I'll see you dudes in the next one.